All right, good morning, P. Brown. So nice to have you here. I hope you're doing well today. Happy New Year to you, absolutely. I can't believe we're wrapping up 2024. Really, really wild to me. I hope you've had a good holiday season. I was on the road down to Chicago this weekend here, and we got to see both my side of the family and my wife's side of the family. It was just so good to be able to do that. Spend some time today just thinking over. I think I titled this like year in review, and I found a little exercise that I'll lead us through here in just a bit, helping us kind of reflect on 2024, everything that's happened. I was trying to think through. I was like, well, should it be like, really health focused? Maybe the most appropriate thing for a health channel. I was like, or we could just, you could make it general, like just life in general, reflecting on the big picture. It doesn't have to be any one thing. It can be whatever we want it to be. So I was thinking last night, I was watching, I go to YouTube and I'll watch YouTube videos on how do you do better at making YouTube videos or hosting a live session. And this guy I was watching last night, he was saying, you've got to hook people. This is what you got to do. You got to hook them right in the first minute. You got to tease something really interesting so they want to say. And I was like, I don't know. And people have all these steps. And I'm like, he was giving examples of within the first, 10 seconds, you've got to say, this is the value you're going to get, and this is why you got to stay. I'm like, it's so... The vibe that I want on a fasting space channel, so this is simple fasting, and this little session, fasting space, the vibe I'm going for is we'll just sit down and have a coffee, One of my favorite things, to do, just head to a coffee shop with a friend and grab a coffee. And, I don't know about you, is that something that you enjoy? When I get together with a friend or three, at a coffee shop, there's no agenda. You know what I mean? This is what I was thinking about this morning. I was like, can you imagine if you showed up at a coffee shop to see your friend and you sat down and before they could even talk, you were like, all right, check it out. Today in our coffee session, I've got 3 steps. It's going to change your life. They'd be like, what? It's too intense. So I don't know. I think that would you just find in the long term, this is my reflection, just create some space that's, I'm not really too interested in having this space be some regular YouTube video, I don't know. That's why I really like the live format. It's not so intense. And, I was seeing someone describe our social situation as the attention economy. Everything is so much pressure, I think this is the correlation that I'm seeing with that whole sort of idea. Everybody, competing for attention and this intensity and pressure. And I'm like, I don't know. I was talking with my kids, over the holiday. They're like, there was no internet when you were a kid? And I'm like, I'm starting to feel old. Yep, no internet. And we were talking about the promise of oh, what is the internet gonna mean, and help us communicate and connect. And I was reflecting, so many people feeling disconnected these days. This is like the big irony. We have like smartphones and every type of, communication, and people would say, well, this is the most connected moment in history. And I would say it probably is. And, resources like this, some random guy in his basement, can connect with people all over. So that's good. But can we use it as a tool that helps us build a more authentic connection than we would get on a traditional, social media sort of thing? So that's my hope. This is a little bit of my kind of reflecting. I'm kind of getting into that idea here already. Reflecting on the year. Where is this going? Where could it go? Fasting is open space. This is what I'm helping people to do on the channel. Embrace this open space in the least stressful way possible. Try to treat the fasting, the space, the time as a mental health practice in and of itself. If we can get that sort of vibe going in our life, this is how I've seen people really stack some good time together, heading in a positive direction without it being a struggle. I never want people struggling, Many different things that we have to balance in our life. Our health goals, kind of one track of that. It might not be always the most important thing, and certainly open to that. I never make New Year's resolutions, but my goal for 2025 is to make a significant reduction in my stress and a significant increase in enjoyment. Health and weight loss might be a side effect. Yeah, I love that sort of mindset. Being open to it. I think one of my favorite videos on the channel is one of those first ones I did as never stress about losing weight again. I put a line in there that is so many people struggling and kind of trying to brute force a weight loss. And I think I said in there, try to develop the idea of just being open to it, if it happens, it happens. And what is the environment that we can create that would make it more likely that such a thing would happen, I think is a nice way to think about it. Yeah, a New Year's resolution. This is the time for it if someone's going to do it. And I don't know. I think it can be a useful tool. I always just tell people if it serves you, then do it. And if it's not your thing, then, it's not like you have to do it. It's just a convention. So this little review, a year-end review, I was scrolling through Twitter, X, something, and this popped up from a gentleman, Sahil Bloom. Seems to have a channel full of good advice. So these were his questions. I think 7 questions. And perhaps I can, maybe I'll type them out on here. I don't know. So the thoughts we could say, is this just about health? This is what I'd say to think about. You could focus in, are these questions just about specifically health or about, broader life or however it's helpful? We split these things out like they're separate things. Oh, I'm going to focus on my family. I'm going to focus on how's my banking account doing? How is this? Really, we're just we're a unified person. We're having an experience. And all of these things are connected. If we talk about reducing our stress as a way to move toward weight loss. If some area of our life we're having great difficulty, a family member is ill and we're having to devote our time and resources to that. I mean, that is just an example. It's going to be very hard to prioritize other things. I was reading, somebody the other day was saying, like, what are your priorities for 2025? And I was like, in like a pure sense, you can't even really have like a priority means like this is the most important thing, right? And so like you can't, kind of hard to have like many priorities. Like within our many priorities, there's kind of got to be one that's, I don't know, taking the lead, at least in some way. Question 1, what did I change my mind on this year? I think this is a really nice thing to reflect on. This is what the gentleman, Mr. Bloom, wrote about the question for his reflection. He says, I used to assume that the most successful people had all the answers and that they just knew more than everyone else. But as I spend more time around successful people, I realize that this is wrong. The most successful people ask the right questions. And they realize that finding the truth is much more important than being right. And I thought that was such a good thing to think about. More important to find the truth than to be right. This guy, I think, is writing, more toward a business or entrepreneurial audience. But I think this is extremely applicable for, what I'm trying to do here, what we're trying to do together, move toward health and wellness. He says, embrace the embarrassing feeling of being a beginner. Like this idea of like a beginner's mind, like a fresh start. I was reading something a while back, like sometimes it's the people that like new in a field who are discovering things. It's like the novice, because they don't have all these ideas that they have been indoctrinated with of like, oh, this is how it has to be, right? Like these are the things that can't be done. They don't know. They just go and do it, Can 2025, can we get in that sort of mindset? We're not afraid to be wrong. We're not afraid to change our mind. We see things with a fresh perspective. I was trying to think about, like, I could do this along with people. I was thinking a little bit about, like, well, simple fasting is this direction, like, but then also I was like, well, if I just sit here, I talk about myself, it's like different, but really it's the same. I mean, it's just me here. I feel like I changed my mind on a few things. One of them that is just coming to me, here in this format. I'm not the type of person that can do a live stream. That I thought that forever. I saw, there's like people doing live streams, like it couldn't be me. I wanted to do it for so long, even a couple years. And I was like, you know what, I can do it. I could make the videos, I can do the live stream. I changed my mind on that, which I'm feeling really happy about. Is there a health-specific thing? For me, I never, my whole life, I never ran a marathon. I did that this year. That's another reflection. What created energy this year? This is question 2. Should put these in the... what created energy in your life? When you think about it, it could be physical energy, like what helped you actually have more energy, or what created emotional, mental energy? What were the positives? Then I can throw it up. What created energy this year? And then I think to think about at the same time, the question 3, what drained the energy? So we'll think, what were the things that really helped you dial in and move in a positive direction? He has a framework here. You could do this if you want. This is a little, probably more than I would dive in. The guy who made this says, take your calendar and either print it out with a marker, or if you have it online, and he color codes all of his activities of, things that were green is really energy giving, and he puts red anything that was energy draining, so that he can actually visualize this whole calendar of what's happening. Well, that's a cool idea. I think personally, I would just reflect a little bit on it of what really felt like it was moving things forward. At least as you're reflecting on it, as you're thinking about, okay, what are the things? Maybe make a little list if you have a journal or something. Try to write down the highlights. What were the real things that brought energy, help you move in a positive direction? And then you can do the same process on the other side. Are there big things, when you hear the third question, what drained the energy? What was bringing things back? What made things a struggle? When were the times you feel like you're walking through the mud, right? Where it's just every step. To the extent that it's possible, many things in life we can't control, right? We have to walk the path that we're on. We can't always, at least in the short term, choose our circumstances. In the big picture, we try as much as possible, of course, to choose our circumstances, create our circumstances. There's a good thought for heading toward 2025. How do we, reflecting on 24 and the things that have both brought us energy, the things that have detracted from it, to the extent that things are in our control, how can we shape our environment and experience so that we can really move ourselves forward in 2025? I guess for me, actually doing this live stream has been one of the most energy giving things for me. I think personally, I'm very encouraged. I was always so intimidated of doing it, and to actually step out and do it, and then realize it's not a big deal. Somewhere in this, he's got a quote in here that I've seen before as one of my favorite quotes. We suffer more in imagination than reality. That's Seneca. I definitely think that's true. So many times we build stuff up, and it's we're not even fearing the thing. We're fearing the mental construct of the thing that we've created in our mind, that we've blown it up into such a big deal. And so this gave me energy. I think being in the live format, I've just loved the interaction that I've had with people. Has helped me to clarify some thinking. And I feel like it's the type of thing that I would really like to stick with. And so as I reflect on that, they say, okay, find your energy givers for the year and lean into that. So the live format, I think, is something I'm going to lean into in 2025. And just try to improve it. I'm certainly open to feedback. Hey, I am encouraged to hear that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. A few of the times, I've taken some of these live sessions, and, I've had it in the past, even over the last couple of years, where I'm like, I'll be out walking the dog and I'll, one piece of advice, I was listening to a guy, like, how do you learn to do a live stream? I was watching, and they're like, you should start talking to yourself, first. They're like, it's kind of looked down upon in our society, right? Well, at least it used to be. I used to think, oh, you see some random person walking down the sidewalk just talking to themselves, you might think like, oh, they are, there's an odd fellow, right? But now I see people with Bluetooth phone things in, and they have it under, some woman's hair is down, you can't tell, and they're just babbling on. Like, I think if we were in a different time, you would think this is a strange person, but this is the times that we're in. You see people walking around like talking to themselves all the time now, so maybe it's not so awkward. But I've been walking around the neighborhood trying to like talk to myself. Like, I'll have a thought, and sometimes I've gotten on a real nice roll where I'm like, I wish that I was like, I wish that was like the live stream. Because when it's just me walking around the neighborhood, then it's, there's no pressure. I want to get to that sort of place. That would be a goal for 2025, where I can get into like that really sort of zone. But a couple times we've had some stretches like that on the live stream, and then I've chopped them up and put them on the videos. And I made a little live stream highlights for the channel. And that's a type of format that I think I really want to explore in 2025. And I really like the idea of creating like a creative community with it. Like, one of the videos I'm working on right now, or like a series, which is kind of in it's just ideas written out, is like, everyone is an artist, and we tend to think of like artists are these specially gifted people who, can paint some beautiful thing or, play some beautiful music. But like, when I say like creating our experience, like shaping our environment, like this is a creative act. Like, we are creating our life and our experience. And I think if we start looking at ourselves as like an artist of our own life, as a conductor, I think that this is a really beautiful thought. And then if we're all here, we're all having our experiences, and if we are sharing those, and can we, working together, can we shape it into a community and a process that can help a lot of people move forward. I really like that. So then that live format, we're all working on these things together in that sort of format. I bring some ideas, people bringing ideas, and we have a discussion. And then I love the idea like that becomes the little video that I can like chop up and put out. So that feels pretty good. So I'll do some of that, and some of just, the standard sort of videos. I have a long list of videos that I want to make, and I guess, when did I start this channel? I think the first video was at May, and we went through 23 and 24 already. This feels like the first year, but it's like the first year I don't know if I had like 9 videos over, 6-8 months, and I don't know, cranked out like 65 like over the year here. So that's kind of fun. Okay, this is turning into more of a personal reflection on the channel. Okay, so we'll move towards some of those things. What drained energy? He's saying, what activities, people, or projects drained energy? Write those down. Make a goal of spending less time on these things in 2025. Yeah. This would be one, where we can, dial it in really on a health thing. Are there specific triggers, that led to emotional eating? Like, are there specific people where it was like, man, every time I see this person, they're like, we're heading out drinking, or we're heading out, some sort of thing. It's like, oh, this is taking me away. I think I've been reflecting a lot. It's really hard to accomplish something. Do you ever feel that way? I don't know. Sometimes it can feel that way. And to like really accomplish something significant, you really want to dial in on it. And so it's kind of a good practice with this, like with kind of everything we're doing here. If this is a time of review, like what are the big things I spend my time on? Like, is this moving me toward my goal or away from my goal? Everything in our life, like one of my favorite quotes, I say it a lot, don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. I don't want to create, of course, any environment to say, oh, we have to be, teetotalers, like everybody, like, but like, also the other side of it is like, are you moving forward or are you not moving forward? And this is what I tell people, like, if you have some vice or some bad habit or something, but it's like you're still moving forward, you're accomplishing what you want. I mean, I'm not give anybody any trouble about it. The main thing I try to help people do, though, is strike the balance where it's like we don't have to be perfect, but if we choose to, if we want to be moving forward. And so we want to find that balance where we can move forward, dial down on these things. This is question 3. What drained energy? Minimize those and find the balance. Question 4, I don't know, seems like a super version of question 3. What were the boat anchors in my life? Boat anchors are the people, mindsets, actions that are holding you back from your potential, from your accomplishing your goal. You're trying to push full speed ahead, but they're literally, an anchor is dragging. It's just keeping you tethered. Boat anchors include people who belittle you, put you down, diminish your accomplishments, laugh at your ambitions, tell you to be more realistic, who are harming the quality of your environment through negativity and pessimism. So, yeah, I think we all have, at least at some point, experienced people like that. Those would be people. Can we spend less time with people like that who are bringing us down? I was listening to, I don't know, some sort of podcast the other day was talking about people like that. People, and they were saying, like, all these, the negative energy that they're throwing at you like this of trying to like discourage you, it's less, you've got to see that less as like an attack coming at you and more as like they're trying to validate their desire not to change. And if you are trying to change and you are trying to move in a positive direction, like that's a huge mental step in and of itself, right? And so a lot of people, like, to change is hard, right? To change, very difficult. I mean, to change anything, let alone, our eating, our health habits, these are very difficult things to change. And you start moving towards something like that, it can be intimidating for people, and people will try to stop you from doing it, even subconsciously, to protect, their state of not having to work toward it. So I would just say guard against that in 2025, right? Do you have self-limiting beliefs, right? This would be another boat anchor. Oh, I got to dial in on your comment. Being too busy, having too many things on the to-do list causes me to seek instant relief, which makes me turn to food. And I just realized that this year. That is like a super insight. Super, super insight. One of the things I think that was on my last year highlight list was instead of having a to-do list, it's like much more powerful to have a do not do list or a not to do list. And, that can be a way to try to turn these things on its head, and put the not to do list ahead of the to do list. Because, it's a balance. Of course, we have things that we have to do. What if one of the things on your not to do list is don't overload any one day's schedule, right? So if you have that as a priority in the new year, you've got to filter your to-do list through that to say what are the things that I'm actually going to do in this day? And maybe it's pick your top three, the three, and then say maybe something else has to get kicked in to tomorrow just to protect that space. Because if we have, three big things that we can knock off the list on any given day, say, my priority for 2025 is not getting overwhelmed, right? Protecting this emotional state, right? So a not to-do list. I really love that. Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks for joining us. My goal is to get rid of clutter. Christy says, I love that as a goal. I don't know. Have you ever watched any of these minimalist, documentaries, or there's minimalist YouTube channels that are all about how do you really super declutter, and there's definitely a synergy. I look at fasting as a minimalist practice. It's very much a clear out and clean out, simplify, and that practice. Many people experience. If you got a clean house, right? If you've put everything away and it's a deep clean and everything is just do you ever sit in your living room after everything is there and you just kind of sit in it and it's just it feels more peaceful and calm and settled? I know I experienced that. So there's another practice, declutter, that I wonder if that would be a way out there. Weight loss or health video, decluttering your way to weight loss or health, but as we're getting into this mindset, right, that the stress is at the root layer, toward that root layer, we've got to get our stress under control. And, just if we want to have a good life, independent of whether we accomplish a specific, health goal, if we are accomplishing every health goal, but we're stressed out and feeling terrible, okay, then that's no good. But what if we decluttered? What if we simplified the whole experience? And even if we weren't having some perfect health accomplishment, but we felt better, that would be a win for sure. I remember we're listening to, this is the wild part at the end where he's tripping the effects. This is Kolu's Cafe channel. I was just YouTubing for specific, a coffee shop sort of vibe of things to listen to. And this came up. So I've been listening to this Kolu's Cafe trumpet meditations. And, maybe I'll throw a link to this channel in the show notes. Go check this guy out. I think I put some more of these as a background. Just this guy sitting around in his office hitting these guitar chords, and then he puts it in a looper, and then he just sits there and plays his trumpet over it. I really like it. Maybe clutter is a boat anchor. So that's our question. What are the boat anchors? Get these things out. Maybe you need a space that is just, as we're, a big thing that I want to do on this channel, help people to be able to practice a fasting space, of any amount. It doesn't have to be very big. It could be a tiny space, I think, there's, other people on YouTube, right? Teaching people how to fast, making fasting content. And there's a lot of people who are doing it, but a lot is like relative. I gave a talk last year at an academic conference. I've got to hook up my system so I can share my screen. Have you ever seen these maps that the CDC puts out over like every year about, there are like obesity maps about the percentage of the population that is overweight in some fashion, just every year getting worse and worse. And I think about like, okay, over the last decade, I put out a video on the channel telling my story of the first time I ran into like a YouTuber, like fasting doctor. That was Jason Fung. That was like 10 years ago. I was, I don't know what the right word is, experimenting with fasting, in my clinic, helping people get off insulin for type 2 diabetes. But I didn't know that anybody else was doing it. And at that time, like intermittent fasting, it was not out there. People didn't know about it. Happy New Year, Rosemary. Thank you so much for chatting in. So nice to have you in here. Appreciated your comment on my sweater the other day on my little New Year's video. That made me laugh. This little alien sweater just cracked me up. My wife said to me, ugly sweaters are like kind of trendy now. So now there's like pretty trendy ugly sweaters, but she's like, but yours is still really ugly. So I got a laugh out of that. Okay, I'm going 6 different directions. Anyway, I think I was saying something about like, okay, the clutter, we're clearing out the clutter is like clearing out the extra food, right? It's like clearing out the snacking, clearing out the space. Oh yeah, this is what I was trying to say. I came across Jason Fung. I was so encouraged because like at that time, nobody was doing fasting. Like there weren't so many studies, now there's all kinds of studies. Some doctor comes to me now and they're like fasting, you shouldn't be doing that. I was like, well, just like read these 17 studies, and tell me what you think of it. And then we have like a really interesting, discussion about it. But then it wasn't like that. I ran across Jason Fung and I was so encouraged. I was like, well, here's a doc out here, like sharing his experiences. I was so encouraged by that. But like, even with all that, like you look at someone like that and there's, a bunch of people like that now, millions of people diving in. Yet the metabolic dysfunction of our society, it has only gotten worse over this time. And so I think the spot to dive in is like just the tiniest little bits. Like, how do we take these practices, make them more accessible? This is like a goal that I have, like to make it easier, simpler. Like, can we all come up together with the ways of like, so that more people can get, open up some of this space and receive benefit from it. That's a huge goal that I have. And so I like this idea, the clutter going away is like opening up more space. Does that help us get in a mindset of openness and simplifying? Really like that. Okay, so there's 4 questions we've gone through. Boat anchors, trying to get them out of our lives. Self-limiting beliefs. People who are bringing us down. Self-sabotaging behaviors. There's like a huge thing that we could dial in on also. What a phenomenon, right? Self-sabotage. Have you ever experienced that? You like have things that you're trying to do, but then you are like, you're taking actions that are undermining yourself. I know that I have done that quite a lot. I don't really know, the psychologists, you can read all the, great psychologists of trying to understand, you got Freud, and we got these different layers of our consciousness, ego and superego. And like, I don't know if that's real, to be honest. I really don't. But as a construct, as a way of thinking about why we make the decisions we do, I think there's, definitely is value in thinking about like, okay, the ego, if we think of it as like a force that wants to just keep everything stable because stable is safe. And, if we're stepping out into something unknown, well, is that dangerous? Could that end up taking us in a bad direction? People have theorized that this is in some evolutionary, framework. If we found an environment that is safe and stable, like, might want to stick with that. Good for our survival. But this is the sort of concept. If you we're in a certain pattern, we're in a certain routine, ego wants to keep us in that sort of space. And then for us to override that, ego doesn't like that. Ego wants to be in charge. Ego is the boss. Ego says, I know what is going on. And is that where self-sabotage comes from? That's where people will say, like, what am I trying to say? Anyway, we try to make the decision, but then some deeper level is trying to say, we're going to try to keep things the same. Maybe that's why, if that's a real thing, maybe that's why change is so hard, because like we're also working against, ourselves to some degree, and we've got to overcome our own resistance to that. Bad habits that cut into growth. So this is a big one, boat anchors. How do we cut the line on these anchors? Question 5. Let's type this one out. What did I not do this year because I was afraid? This is such a huge thing to think about. I lost my little spot where I can type it in. We'll pretend I'm typing it in. What did I not do out of fear this year? Maybe that's making a health change. Maybe, in our context, it's really leaning into some sort of health practice, either healthy eating. Maybe it's the fasting specifically. I'm totally open to understanding from people, okay, can fasting be intimidating? Absolutely. I always tell people, when I first saw somebody practicing fasting, a patient, and was having like healing and benefit from it, I was super intimidated, because I was like, I could tell instantly. I was like, well, I'm going to want people to be able to have this sort of effect. And I was like, I'm never going to be able to suggest that someone does this if I don't do it. So I'm thinking like, oh, I'm going to have to do this. I would just, at that point, I was just eating all the time. The idea of not doing that, I was like, I'm going to be feeling hungry. It's going to be unpleasant. Why would I ever do that? I was definitely intimidated of it. And that's why I think I'm kind of maybe most hopefully excited about like this sort of space, a live space, chill music. It's like having a coffee with a friend. Like that is like the opposite of like an intimidating thing. Like a lot of times, like, okay, people can feel real good, get up in the morning, have a coffee or tea. Like, what if you're going to have coffee or tea with a friend? You go hang out at a coffee shop, have some music. What if you got up late? You might just go, right? If you're normally someone who eats breakfast and you got up late, you might just go to the coffee shop, right? There's someone who doesn't know about fasting. They don't know anything. You say, oh, I'm late. Like, shoot. They just get out of the house. They go. They meet with their friend. They had a coffee. They didn't even think about it. Like, you didn't think about having breakfast. You just got up. You fasted, but you didn't call it fasting. You're like, oh, I just had coffee with a friend. If we can create that sort of vibe, I think, or hope anyway, this could be a way that could help people start dipping their toe in the water of a fasting sort of practice, you know, to say like, oh, I didn't know it could be that simple, you know, like, oh, I've done that. Most people, when you say like, have you ever had a day like that? You know, of any kind, oh, I slept in and then we just had brunch and ate dinner. Like you ate twice in a day. So many people, you know, our culture teaches like you have to eat 3 times in a day if you want to be healthy. But I was like, oh, remember that day when you didn't do that and it turns out you were fine? Remember that day that you were running late and you had to get to work and then you had your coffee and you made it till your break or till lunch? Like it was okay. And that was actually the hardest thing. So what did I not do because of fear? That could be a health thing. It could be just, you know, in your life in general. We suffer more in our imagination than our reality. Many times, or more often. I mean, I think like, well, we can suffer a lot in life. Bad things, you know, happen, cause a lot of suffering. I was like, I'm asking, do I agree with that quote? We suffer more than in imagination than in reality. Is that, or does it just say more often? We suffer, you know, more. Open to interpretation. We can suffer a lot in reality when terrible things happen, but maybe more often we create that for ourselves. Thanks so much for stopping in, and I hope you have a great day, and look forward to seeing you back around on the channel. I'm going to be doing this. I'm planning on doing this every Sunday for 2025. I'm just going to show up. You know, I had that one Sunday there. I ran the marathon. I did a pre-recorded thing. Maybe there'll be things like this. I am going to do some traveling in 2025. But I've thought, well, maybe I can, I won't have the studio set up, but I was looking, I'll go live from my phone. So somewhere in 25, we'll have an interesting field exploration. We'll see if I can get some reception in a few places and just go live on my phone. We'll see if that works. Question 6. What are the greatest hits and worst misses of the year? He says, our natural bias skews how we see our year. Optimists would just see all the good and not look at the difficult things. Then a pessimist just see all the bad and not see the good. So can we see a balance on that? So think about just in life in general, and think about health. Like, what are the health greatest hits this year? What are the things we really said, well, this is moving me forward? Are there things that you say really really didn't work out that way? Health focus for me, running the marathon was just a huge health hit. I mean, that was like a focus of my entire fall. I didn't know if I'd be able to do it. It was really a stretch, I think, thing for me to go out and try to do. So that was like a huge hit health-wise. What is a worse miss health-wise? That I will have to dial in on. I'm kind of a health fanatic. Like did I have a health miss this year? I probably did. Just in general, greatest hits. I mean, I really love this video I did, Joy on the Journey. That when I think about a hit for like just my channel, it's not really a very highly viewed video. I don't know if it's like good in any sort of way, but I'll tell you, I really enjoyed that. I was like hiking up a mountain, talking about overcoming obstacles, finding joy in the journey. This is what I want to help people do on the channel. I want that to be a focus of 2025. Help everybody do it. Can we all do it together? I'm enjoying this process, learning how to do, live streams and videos, sharing perspectives on health and weight loss and controlling blood sugar. And is the doing of it, it's not like, oh, someday, people say, oh, someday you'll build a big channel and then you'll feel so good about it. Like, I feel good about this. Like, I think small is beautiful, and I don't really care if it grows into something big. I just want it to be meaningful, to the people that are here. And that video, I thought, as much as any, really helped dial that in. And what did I learn? So this whole review wraps up with what did I learn? So think about that for yourself. What did you learn this year that you felt really pushed you forward in some way? It says to really take your time on this run. Reflect on the other questions. Write down what you learned from it, and lean into that in 2025. Greatest hits, shedding health myths, trying something different, doing fasting on a regular basis. So good. I'm really glad that you've been able to do it and find benefit from it. There goes our trumpet meditation. So as we wrap up our little reflection here, I'll think about this, shedding health myths. I'll just share with you my goal for this week. I'm going to try to film a video. I've been doing some writing of it that is like, I started us out on the stream here of like a little reflection on YouTube videos and advice that people give on grabbing people's attention. And I was kind of saying like, oh, I'm not really into that sort of thing or that vibe. But then I'm like, I don't know, like, also I wouldn't, I want this thing to be successful. I want it to help reach people, meet people, connect with people. And then we are in this attention economy. So it's like, I want a balance. That's why I think the live will go for like this chill, coffee house sort of vibe. But I'll try to make some content that is like attention grabbing. I don't know. I'll experiment with it. So this last week I produced a short. I have one short on the YouTube channel, and short format, isn't really necessarily the vibe I'm going for. I watched a video once that said, just take your regular content that you're doing and then just chop it up and put it out as a short, and then you get more content. And I'm like, oh, I'll try that. But it didn't really work. And I keep going back and forth about whether I should delete this short that I have on the channel. Because, I don't know, it's like I took this widescreen video and then I just chopped in, and so it's just like my big head sitting on this. I just don't like how it looks. books. But I made a dedicated short this week. That's going to come out focused on this autophagy effect. And I did kind of like it. It's just like 50 seconds. And it's really, the other side of it is like, well, if you're trying to do this like really attention grabbing thing, it does force you to be really focused and concentrated on what you actually say if you're really, and it is an efficient way to deliver things to people. So I was like, well, I don't know. I don't want to ever anything that someone say, oh, Dr. Z is putting out like some clickbait diet video. I don't, that's not my vibe. But anyway, the writing I was doing that is in this sort of line, shedding health myths. I think I should just bring it up. It was like shatter the weight loss paradigm. That is the current thought. Shattering the weight loss paradigm is like, to me, like embracing the fasting, because the current paradigm is like you have to lose weight by keep eating all the time. And like almost every sort of diet thinks that way. And even like exercise, you got to exercise, but then you got to eat. And I was like, if we shattered that paradigm, that would be like an attention grabbing thing. But I think it's true. I've been sitting here trying to read my script and feel like, is this too much? Or is this true? What do I say? Oh, yeah. And then here's this version I liked more. Shatter the weight and blood sugar paradigm in 25. I say stop thinking of obesity and type 2 diabetes as diseases and start seeing them as a resource. That is the paradigm shattering thought to me. I don't really think I have interest in, arguing with some academic about whether obesity is really a disease. I learned it was only 2013 that it was actually classified as a disease. And before that, it was not a disease. And now type 2 diabetes, you'll have a harder time arguing, is it not a disease? So I don't want to be like a purist about it. But like I say, stop thinking about it that way. Develop a resource mindset. Like there's another title for a video I've thought, like develop a resource mindset. If we see obesity as a disease, as type 2 diabetes is a disease, then we feel afflicted and oppressed by it. We feel diagnosed and labeled, and then this pushes us, into feeling bad about ourselves and to looking for a medical solution to it. And if we are seeing it as a resource, because blood sugar is a resource, body fat is a resource, and if we see it that way, all of a sudden it's positive. The whole mindset is switching. Like, what else did I write here? Despite all the problems these conditions entail, they are the body's best effort to provide you with resources. The body cares for you. It is not broken. It is trying to make the best of a difficult situation. The body has more energy than it needs. It is trying to conserve it and convert it into an asset that can help you survive and thrive in the future. Like, I think the reason I haven't recorded this yet, I like these thoughts. I don't know how to put them into like a tiny little concise video. Thank you. Yes, improving the metabolism with fasting. This is what I want to see. I think, I don't know how much, to me, I say something like that and it's like, it really resonates, and I'm glad that it resonates with you. I don't know if the idea resonates with a lot of people. Like a lot of people want to lose weight. I don't know, do they? How do you present it in the way that is the most impactful? That's what I am wanting to think about here. The paradigm shattering practice is to simply open up enough space to allow the body to use this energy. Let the conditions fulfill their purpose. Take the energy that they give you and use it to power your body. That's how you use up these conditions and rid yourself of them. Anyway, those will be the thoughts that I am thinking about this week. How do we turn that into a video that is accessible to people and help them introduce to these thinking. So thank you for hanging out with me here in this chat. I hope you have a great week. I hope these reflections are helpful. I'll put a link to the actual article that I was reading through. And I'll see you back on the channel sometime soon.